All right, welcome back for another episode of Carnivore Trades. Today is Monday, May 15th, 2023. If you're not done so already, please give the video a thumbs up, like, comment, subscribe to the channel. Come find me on carnivoretrades.com for swing trading alerts and analysis. Anyways, let's get into it today. So pretty much a sleeper of a day here. Spider is up 0.25% there. Nasdaq is up 0.5%. So a little bit of gain there. And the Russell, actually the big winner on the day. Take a look at the IWM here, up 1.2. So that's actually having a pretty decent pop there. KRE coming off the lows, that is up 3% on the day. So KRE, in, I wouldn't say good shape, but it's in better shape than it was last week, at least for now. I think, little theory here, potentially it is an options X week. And we could be seeing a little bit of put decay, right? We haven't had a lot of news out of the regional banks, at least not anything crazy new and groundbreaking the last week or so. And if that remains the case this week, you could see some of those puts decay and kind of get that, sort of invisible hand type bid there, supportive flow type deal for the KRE, and obviously lots of regionals in the IWM, so that could be a little bit of a tailwind there. But overall for the markets here, we had a kind of benign gap up here, kind of in no man's land, nothing really great there. And then it kind of just rolled over into this previous pivot from where we broke out on Friday, and that ended up being support, and we went up, flagged, popped, came back down, and now they're just keeping us off of 413 here, so defending that area. It's also 4150 ES, so maybe a little bit of a whole round number there, Monday OPEX type action. Either way, nothing's really changed here on the charts, and volume remains pathetically light. Again, 42 million shares here, just shy of 3:50 p.m. So that is, it's like carnival volume. It's holiday volume, right? Nothing significant going on here. And again, how many times in a row, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days in a row where we've had, or 5 out of the last 6 days, I should say, where we sold off and then recovered intraday. At some point, there will probably be a rug pull with that. Where everybody looks for the save and then it doesn't come. Is that how the price action plays out later this week? It's certainly possible. Big takeaway from me, though, I'm thinking at this point, I know we've talked a lot about 420 and this gap fill. I'm thinking it's much more likely that this MA pattern plays out, this broadening wedge, diamond pattern, whatever you want to call it. We've been watching it for weeks now, but I think the bulls, they're kind of running out of time here. And I think that invisible kind of zombie bid is going to go away here soon. That said, this isn't a terrible pattern here. We have the big surge there from the 5th, and then we've just been inside of that for the last week or so. This isn't a terrible move for an advance. I just don't see it at this point getting to 420. Yeah, maybe we get news. There's some, certainly possible something like that can happen. I'm just not seeing the upside right now. Could be wrong here, but I think probabilities now are more so that the highs are in, and it's likely we're going to see a lower high, or it's at least not certainly 420. But again, it could be wrong on that. They could give, it could be some type of news. I don't know if the debt ceiling is enough to really do it. If they came, they said they were going to come to a deal this morning, and then McCarthy came out and he said, no, we're not. So again, they're still posturing. I think everybody knows it's going to be the last minute type deal. I don't know. Maybe it's some other news. Maybe it's related to the banks. Maybe that's why they're rallying now. Somebody knows something. It's certainly possible. But either way, the pattern's not terrible. I just think we're running out of time here. And it is an OPEX week. So it's generally you don't see too big moves in either direction. Sometimes if you get a big move, it'll kind of get faded, or vice versa. If we get a big move to the downside, you kind of get a bid back up. Market makers like to have control over the markets in this kind of environment here. But either way, I'm starting to think that we're getting closer to kind of this kind of corrective period that's been put off for quite a while. We've been up here for 7 weeks, and this is we're coiling up here. So whatever direction this goes, it's going to be a big direction. You guys know I'm in the camp that it's going down. Good evidence of that is, even though big tech is strong, triple Qs, this is representative of big tech. You got a rising wedge here. You're at the top end of that trend line. Guess where it coils up to? Right to the OPEX Friday here. So right here is where it basically runs out of room. Maybe we could have room on Monday next week. That's about it. Additionally, with that rising wedge, you've got declining RSI. Declining MACD. So bearish divergences there. So that's kind of my thought here is this market loses big tech. There's really going to be nothing else to rally on unless, you get, again, maybe you get some news out of the banking sector. That's really kind of your hope there. Is, needless to say, everybody's been saying it for weeks. Breadth is terrible. So we look at the equal weighted triple Qs, not making new highs. We look at the semiconductors. That actually had a nice day today. Got big pop. Take a look at AMAT, up 4%, KLA up 4% as well. NVIDIA up decently, AMD up okay, Intel up 2.7. That's a big move for Intel. But so semi's got a nice pop here, but again, high and then lower high. IGV here, not a terrible pop today either, but again, high, lower high, not making highs with the triple Q. So that's a divergence here. I'm going to show it one more time. Spiders here, just a couple percentage points off of the February high, whereas RSP is down about 8%. So, not that it needs to be said. I'm sure everybody's aware of it at this point, but it's just really unsustainable. So that's the way I see it right now. And overall, I don't think that we have enough to really make a higher high unless it's a slight nominal high. So we'll see what we get here, but volume very light. Thinking probably towards the latter part of the week is where we kind of start to see some possible selling pressure come in. But again, we'll see what happens when we get there. Not a terrible pattern for a pop tomorrow. Anyways, IWM here, again, up 1.2%. Still not a great pattern. I just don't like this chart here. Still kind of struggling with that 50-day moving average. We haven't been above that since March 8th. Weekly, it's a dog with fleas. And the monthly is also a dog with fleas. So I don't like the Russell here, really any way you look at it. If we get a bid, 180 is going to be heavy resistance. And that's if that even can get up there. Dow here, working on a slight higher low potentially. You got some nice tails there. That's 1, 2, 3 days in a row that they've defended that 331.45 area on the diamond. So, maybe we can get a little bit of a bid here. Again, I don't see it getting back up to 343, but, again, the Dow's price cap weighted, so it does tend to have some weird sessions there. Anyways, we mentioned the semis here. Again, this is getting a nice bid. We'll see if this can back test this trend line. Let's extend that out. Then you also have kind of where you broke down right around 128, 128.50. A lot of the time when you have a big pump Monday, it would be interesting to see if we have a pump Tuesday tomorrow. A lot of the time when you pump the first 2 days of OPEX, it's usually a reversal around Wednesday and vice versa. So we'll see what happens here. But for right now, nice little ABC kind of zigzag pattern there for the semis, and we'll respect the strength, especially since the strength is actually not coming from just NVIDIA for once. So there's a little bit of a positive there to see, KLA and AMAT and some of the others perform a little bit better. Anyways, cloud here, again, getting a nice bid. I could maybe see this making a new nominal high right now, but that's about all I see for it right now. Microsoft did get the go ahead to buy Activision, I believe. So that did kind of help out. Cloud software, as Microsoft got a big pump in the morning, was negative, and then it kind of turned green. And obviously Microsoft making up a big portion of the IGV there. Anyways, transports are green on the day, holding up decently well. Not a good chart pattern though. And, to me, this is just a weekly bear flag inside of a wedge. And, if you trigger this head and shoulder pattern on the weekly, this is going to go much lower. But for right now, it's hanging in there again. Lower highs on the transports versus higher highs on, the NASDAQ, and higher highs essentially on the spiders. Not a good sign moving forward. Bond land, really just kind of a flat day. Nothing going on here. Again, still in a big picture holding pattern. Yields, not doing a whole lot here. Not much to say until we break out of this range. I still think they're in a bigger picture consolidation pattern, but until they make a move, nothing really to do with them. Right now, XHB holding up okay, up 0.75%. ITB up 0.5%. I think these are very top heavy, but again, we'll respect the strength there. VNQ still stuck in this range. This is a dog with fleas as well. XLF getting a nice pop again. The KRE was green. We talked about that. That's up 0.75%. Still below those moving averages on the weekly and the daily, and on the monthly, you're hammering on that 50 moving average again now for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times in the last 8 to 9 months. So just be aware of that with XLF. I don't like the pattern here. Again, financials, I just would avoid them right now. There's the KRE and KBE getting a nice bid there. So short term, getting a bounce. Broker dealers trying to work on that ABC pattern we talked about. If this can get up, I could see this getting up to 445. There's nothing to say it can't do that. Maybe even 450. But that's really all I see for it at the moment. Bigger picture, I don't like this pattern at all. Crude getting a nice pop here. So this may be trying to put in a little higher low, right? So we got to the double bottom. And then I said last week, it's a decent pullback, but I can't tell if it's kind of 50-50, right? I would have preferred you held 71.50 for me to continue holding my crude long position. We just kind of played it as a quick bounce. That's all it was. Once you lost that, it was kind of 50-50 as to whether you're going to hold 70 to me. And, it's getting a pop, right? It's holding up okay. If you look on the intraday time frame, the 4 hour, nothing terrible, but you're still struggling with that 4 hour 20 MA. If you can get above that, then you can work your way back up to about 73.50. And then if it gets through that, it's going to 75, 76. And that's really all it's going to have for right now. That could be a lower high play. So we'll watch that. But for right now, energy's acting well. It's holding up decently. XLE came off the highs a little bit. It was up a lot more earlier. But again, this trend line's getting weaker and weaker the more we hammer on it. So I am not in love with energy right now, or at least not oil. As far as oil and crude is concerned, XOP also getting a bounce, still below those moving averages. Same thing with OIH. The more that hammers on 250, the weaker that gets. Nat gas is acting much better here, up 4.5%. So that's hammering on the highs, and it's above 230. So next step for this, it may need to do a little bit of backing and filling next day or two. But if this can get through 250, this has real legs here. Again, rig count plummeted. I think it was like a historic drop. I think since 2005, I read. So minus 16 rigs. I think the producers got the hint finally from shareholders. But nice little higher low there. We have daily chart higher lows for the first time since December. And then an inside bar pop into Friday and follow through Monday. So no problems there. That looks good to me on all time frames. Dollar index pulling back a little bit. So again, still struggling with that kind of 20-week moving average. So that's the big level for me, 102.80, spot 7, and that 20-week moving average. You get above that, the low's in on the dollar, and it's going to 106. But for right now, I may need to pull back a little bit more. Gold is fractionally higher here on the day, nothing crazy. I still think this is tired and needs to do more backing and filling. Interesting how KRE is up 3%, and gold is kind of just flattish. And bonds, the ZB here is actually down a little bit today too. So interesting, gold's actually hanging in there okay. No real issues. GDX basically testing that 20-day moving average and coming off the highs. So gold holding up well. Maybe that's OPEX related, maybe not. But interesting to see that relationship there. Silver getting a bounce off the 50 MA. Again, covered the silver short on Friday. I still think this wants to go to 23.50 and then possibly lower from there. But it is holding support for now, so we'll respect it. Platinum also getting a bounce. And actually, strangely enough, rejecting that trend line, at least for now. It doesn't mean it's dead yet. Still have that green bar low. You still have 1040, so no problems. And we'll watch how that closes towards the end of the week. But I'm interested in platinum here and palladium, possibly for maybe some longer term accumulation. Just need to see a little bit more of a chart pattern here. And then copper still holding support, but again, if this goes sideways here, this can just become another inside bar pattern, and that'll go to 360. So, and if you get through 360, then you're back down to 340. So copper, we'll watch that moving forward. Nothing terrible, nothing dire yet, but you want to see this kind of really start to shape up and attack 380, 385, 386 again. It goes sideways, it's just building another base for a potential move lower. All right, lastly, let's get over to Bitcoin. So Bitcoin's shaping up okay. The bears held resistance here at this head and shoulder, which triggered all weekend. Today, the bulls are above that, and markets are about to close here in about 30 seconds, but Bitcoin closes at 8 p.m. So we'll watch that. If that's above this area here by 8 p.m., this pattern's negated. So it would be failed, and then we would just revert to the weekly, which is the more dominant, and you can see there's no problems on the weekly right now. So it's hanging in there just fine. But if you lose that, if it gets rejected again and it comes back down, then that head and shoulder is in play. But if you get a close above that, it's negated. So we'll watch that going into the close today. But interesting little dynamic there for Bitcoin. Anyways, let's get back over to the spiders here. Market set to close. And we're basically just hammering on that 413 level. Looks like they're going to just pump it right above that or 412.94 is the official close. So either way, all in all, a flattish to positive day for the spiders here. Just 49 million shares. This is absolutely, peanut gallery volume. So again, I don't hate the pattern here for another pop here. I just don't really see the upside. Again, maybe you can get some, a news catalyst here, but I think, like I've been saying, the clock's ticking and the bulls have had way too many chances to push us up. And I think that downside kind of flows will start to take over probably towards the latter part of the week, if not into next week. Anyways, guys, gonna wrap up here. You guys take care. Come find me on carnivoretrades.com. I'll talk to you all tomorrow.